Hello, hi everyone. My name's Tyla Gomez and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about the 10 things I wish I knew before I moved to LA. And before I get into it, go ahead and subscribe. I know I haven't said anything yet, but just do it. For some background before we get started, I'm from North Carolina and I moved to LA 2 years ago. July 28th made my 2-year anniversary, my LA anniversary, if you will. And yeah, I moved 2020, so pandemic mover. But I can tell you what I wish I knew before I moved out here, because y'all, I got some stuff to say. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, let's start with something that everyone already knows. It's expensive. It's really hard to find rent that's under $1,000 for your own room. I feel like the only times I've ever seen anything less than $1,000 a month is when you're actually sharing a room. I feel like LA has warped my sense of what is expensive and what is not expensive. Like, I remember when I would go out to eat in North Carolina, I'd be like, I'm not spending more than $20, $30 on this meal. But now I know I'm going out in LA, like minimum I'm spending $50. Like, it's hard to spend less than $50. And then tip and tax, it comes out to like 70. It's really hard to eat out here. If there's a will, there's a way. With that said, yes, it's very expensive out here, but there's also a lot of opportunities to make money. And that's what really like brought me out here. And like, people sometimes ask like, oh, how much money should you have saved before you moved to LA? And to be quite honest, I'm not the person to ask that. I didn't have a bunch of money saved before I moved. Yeah, not my best financial decision, but hey, I was 21, just graduated college, and all I knew was I needed to get the fuck out of North Carolina. And I knew like there were money making opportunities in LA. People like to throw out $10,000. If you can save $10,000 before you move to LA, do it. I think that's really good. But I will say, it's much easier to make $10,000 out here than it is back where I'm from. So do with that what you will. Like, another thing I wish I would have known before moving to LA is that dating here is kind of hard. And I know, I feel like everyone's always like, the dating pool has pee in it, and that's like a popular thing for people to say. For LA specifically, I feel like it's particularly bad. And the reason that is because so many people move to LA. But when people move to LA, they're not thinking, I want to move to LA to start a family. I want to move to LA and really settle down. No, when people want to move to LA, it's because they're chasing their dreams, work opportunities. Those are like the main reasons why people move here. And then like the relationship and family stuff, that's kind of on the side. And that mindset kind of carries into like how you live your life. Like, even me, like, I say this as a critique of myself as well. Like, am I dating? Yes. But what takes priority? My career. Like, that's what I'm here for. I'm just dating for fun. And I'm sure that's frustrating for the people who are looking for something serious, because I think the general culture in LA is like, well, I'm really just trying to chase my dreams and make my dreams come true. But if I can find a boo while I'm at it, great. Like, once I realized that, it made dating easier. Thinking of it that way helps you not villainize people for not being on the same page as you. I think it's easy to be like, oh my God, all these guys want to just play around. No one's serious. Everyone's afraid of commitment. And facts. But like, when you think about the landscape of LA, it's like, did you really think like people moving to LA like are really trying to settle down? Like, really, in your heart of hearts, when you think of where you want to settle down, even when I talk to people in LA and I ask, where do you want to settle down? Rarely anyone says LA. Everyone's always like, well, the jobs are here, so I'm here. But I really want to go home and settle down, go to New York, go to Texas. Everyone wants to go to Texas. So if you're really focused on, starting a family, getting a serious relationship, maybe go to Texas, because that's where things are serious. The next thing is your neighborhood really determines your experience. I know that goes for everywhere, but I feel like in LA, the neighborhoods are so different. Like, when I first moved to LA, I was living in downtown. And if you know me in real life, I am downtown's #1 hater. You want to talk negatively about downtown? Come to me because I have some shit to say, baby. First of all, I think it's really dirty. That's objective. It is dirty. But then it's like a fake New York. Like, I just don't like how it's trying to be New York. Because I'm like, if I wanted the New York aesthetic, guess where I'd be? I want to see palm trees. I want to see the Hollywood sign. Where that at? So that was my problem with downtown. There are some gyms down there. I wouldn't totally discourage people from moving to downtown LA because I will say there's a hub of like black entrepreneurs, black creatives. Like I feel like a lot of I'm trying to think of the word. A lot of cool black people live there. That's the best way to put it. You need a car in LA. You need a car. Everything's so spread out. So many events are scattered around town. Like you never know, like as an actor, you never know where a shoot's gonna be. Like it might be in the Valley, it might be in Hollywood, it might be downtown. Ubers are so expensive. When I was without a car for a while, I spent a car payment on Ubers in a month and it was so annoying. So you're just better off investing in a car. Okay, now this thing I think is a little controversial and some people might disagree. But people here are just like people everywhere else. What I mean by that is I think LA has this perception that like, oh, everyone's fake, people are superficial, people are flaky, people are clout chasers, like all this like negative stuff about people in LA. And do I think that's true? Yes, LA does have those people. But guess what? Atlanta has those people. New York has those people. North Carolina has those people. Like bad people are everywhere. I will say I think the industry, like the entertainment industry, the influencer industry, sometimes breeds more of a I want to meet people and just expand my network. So instead of like really seeking more genuine friendships, people are seeking more networking connections to get them places and to like just elevate their career. I think that can be done tastefully and I think that can be done poorly. I think it just depends on the person. But even like going to school in North Carolina and studying business, you were supposed to network with people, and your sole purpose for reaching out to those people was to network. Like that was a thing. That's how you get jobs. You don't just get jobs by like applying, you get jobs because of who you know. And so to come out here and like people think so negatively of it, it's like it's so weird because it's only negative if people don't like you. That's the tea. Because like if you're really like I have friends who connect me to other people because they know it'd be good for like my career. Like is that me cloud chasing? No, that's like a friend connecting me to somebody else. So what's the difference between someone else doing that without the friend involved? Like everyone's just trying to get ahead here. So I just really sympathize for LA people and especially creatives because I feel like people just think so negatively of them. Like, of course, there are fake people here. There are people who will pretend to be your friend to use your resources and to get ahead. There are people who will put you down to get ahead. Of course, those people exist. If you want to find genuine, true friendships here, you can. I think they exist. I just think you gotta put out that energy that you want to receive and then realize that everyone's not going to be for you. Like, and once you accept that, it gets easier when you meet those people you mix match with because it's like, okay, you're just not my person and that's okay. One thing, this is actually something I really wish I knew, but it probably is best I didn't know. LA is dangerous. Like, you see these shows like LAPD or 911, and there's a reason they're set in LA. Because the craziest shit be happening here. Like, I can't look at the news too much or I'll get scared. Because there's just so much stuff that happens in LA. Like, I know recently, and God bless the whole families that are involved in this. Like, there was this crazy fiery crash on La Brea where, like, this crazy girl was driving like 90 miles per hour through a red light, like while cars were passing, and like 6 people died. It was a mess. But that's the kind of shit you see on television, but it happens here, which is like so baffling to me. And that was quite an adjustment when I first moved here, because I was like, wow, like this place is not really safe. And I feel like it's crazy because New York gets the rap of like, oh, New York is so dangerous, but like, is it more dangerous than LA? Like, I don't know. I just hear the crazy. I guess it is. It's in different ways. Because that guy did smear his shit on somebody in New York, and that's a different kind of hell. Yeah, like I hear sirens all the time. Like, there's always something going on here. Like, always something. Okay, here's another thing I wish I knew. The homeless population, or the population of people without homes, is very large. Like, I think at one point I thought it was really just confined to Skid Row, which is downtown, but that's not the case. And what Skid Row is like a tent city where like people without homes basically live. They set up their tents and whatnot, and they live in this area. But you go see like tent cities, different places around LA. Like, oh my God, y'all. I remember I was walking to like a grocery store, and she just got really scary because I was walking and it was like very calm, and then I started looking around. I'm like, oh no, how did I get here? And like tent city, literally. Like, it's so crazy because I feel like when I first moved to LA, so I went to UNC Chapel Hill, very liberal college, very save the world. And I still have that in me, which I hope it never leaves me. But the conversation around homelessness in North Carolina at UNC was very different than out here. We wouldn't even call them homeless. We'd say they're people without homes or people experiencing homelessness, but we tried to put their humanity first. And that was like what I came out here doing and thinking, really like sympathizing for them. And I still do. But I noticed out here, like people who are from LA or who lived here long enough, they have this deep-seated almost hatred for homeless people, which I didn't quite understand, because I'm like, dude, this person's like really going through a hard time and you just like hate them. Like the things they say, like I remember being on dates. Oh my God, yo, I went on a date with somebody who killed a homeless man. I really blocked that out. No, he was telling me about it on a date. The homeless man attacked him though, but he was like, yeah. And I just kept punching him until he stopped moving. Like he stopped moving. That was the weirdest date story. Maybe I should do a video on like weird date exchanges. 'Cause at first I didn't know where he was going with it. Like he told me the story, and then after a while I was like, wait, did you kill somebody? But child, what was I saying? Oh, I've just been on dates with other people other than the murderer, where they just talk about like, oh, they just need to move them, put them somewhere else. Like the idea of like putting them somewhere else is just, it's such a weird thing to say, because I'm like, where do you want them to go? They're homeless. Like they have no home. You just don't want them in front of you. And I thought that was kind of fucked up, but I get it. It's like a fucked up truth, because it's like, I want every person to have a home. But if you don't, I don't want you outside of my apartment. That's scary for me now. So I think just living here over time, I realized like why the people who live in LA have such a resentment for homeless people. I don't know if resentment's even the right word, but I know mine is like fear-based, because I think people with nothing to lose are the scariest people on earth. And a lot of times they don't have anything to lose, or they're turning to drugs, which trust me, I understand. Like I smoke, I do drugs now, and I live a pretty good life. So imagine if I didn't. Shit, I'd be doing all sorts of drugs. But I think that just adds to the fact that they're very unpredictable, and you just they're dangerous. I remember seeing on the news that a homeless man had a metal pole and he hit an Olympic gold medalist in the face with it, and her face was so swollen. But he assaulted her. And like, why did he do that? I don't know. He's probably on drugs. But his mind was like, why not? He has nothing to lose. You know what happens when he goes to jail? He gets shelter and meals. Like, it's kind of an incentive to do shit because they actually get shelter if they misbehave. It's so crazy. It's so fucked. But ever since I saw that story on the news, I am not playing with these homeless people. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not playing. And I do like say a prayer when I see them, but that's the extent. Okay, another thing to know about LA, and this is true for all big cities, making friends requires effort. Friends aren't just gonna fall into your lap, especially being new in a big city. Like, you gotta be intentional about making friends, following up with them. I know for me, like if I'm out at a party or something and I connect with someone, I make sure to get their Instagram so I can follow up with them. And I think it's so important to like make plans outside of like where you met and actually follow through with them. I'm going to do a whole video on how to make friends in a big city though. So stay tuned for that if you want more tips like this. But in general, just know it takes effort and it takes actually spending time with someone. And it takes an open mind to know that like the first person you reach out to and the first person you go on a friend date with might not even be your person, but you shouldn't give up because your person's out there. It's kind of like dating, but different requirements maybe. Last but not least, it is so easy to get lost in the sauce here. And by that I mean you move out here with your dreams of doing X, Y, and Z, but then the party's happening and then you start getting connected with promoters and there's a party every night in the week. If you want to go out every night of the week, you can do that here. And all I'll say is, because I've had perfect weeks before, I've done the whole going out a lot thing and I go on my benders from time to time, but you're not getting as much work done when you're doing that. You're not being your most productive self. You're not being your highest vibration of yourself. You can't get too caught up in the sauce. Like, it really does depend on what your goals are. But most goals, you're not going to get too far, like, just by being in the club partying. Like, that can be one avenue, one aspect to connect with people, meet new people. But that can't be the only thing you're doing to reach your goals. People aren't like, oh, I'm trying to cast this movie. Let me look around at these girls in the club. No, they're like, I'm trying to get my dick wet. Let me look around these girls in the club. Like, let's be real, you know. Something might come from that, but let's call a spade a spade. And I'm not saying no business can be done at the club. Like, some business can, but I think if your number one goal for like getting where you want to get to in LA is by partying, I don't think that's what you need to do. I think something happens to people where they get so excited because I can party with Drake tonight. Like, I'm partying with Drake tonight. I've made it. But you gotta think about it. You're partying with Drake because you're a pretty girl, just partying with Drake. You're not partying with Drake because you're his peer, which I think would be objectively more satisfying. You know, like, you gotta really think about it. Like, and then I think in LA, our proximity to the celebrities makes us think we're more farther along. Like, you partying with Drake is not a career achievement. Unless you're a party promoter, then it is. I just wish I would have known how easy it is to kind of get sucked into that. Because it is easy. You got to balance the work with the play. And know that the play isn't always work. But the work can be play if you're doing the right work. And that might go over some of your heads. Okay, so that concludes my 10 things I wish I knew before I moved to LA. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you took something from it. I'm sure you did. If you didn't, start back and watch it again. Subscribe, follow, like this video, comment something. Any questions, let me know. I'll be answering them. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye.